Hi again, everyone. Thanks for joining both Alberto and I for this latest episode of our Walking for Peace podcast. Hi, Alberto.
Hola, ¿cómo estamos?
Estamos muy bien. Yay. Well, today we're going to continue. We're going to continue onwards after that unforgettable experience, remember, with Don Bernardino
Bernardino.
climbing up that mountain outside San Gimignano that very cold and windy night to arrive at that hermitage, really, which was, it was a place of light. It wasn't just a place on top of the mountain. It was a place of light called La Romita.
Yeah.
And our meeting with Don Bernardino and his message that about the Tao that we were wearing, the deep symbolism that the Tao had, its importance for those who are pilgrims, and the surprising message that he offered both of us, which I resisted a great deal in the beginning, saying that we're messengers. So that was our last episode. That was, we left off with Don Bernardino accompanying us back to the road, where we would continue walking onwards towards the next few towns in the Umbria region, because that's where we were in Italy, the Umbria region. And the fact that a couple of dogs would be joining us on the way.
Yes.
Yeah, Bianco Spino and one of the other ones, I think it was Romita or Romito, one of them who was accompanying us on the road. And actually, when I posted, I wanted to mention that when I posted the audio of this podcast on my Facebook page, I also posted a couple of pictures along with them. You know, back then I had my little Kodak, that 35 millimeter that needed to have cartridges, and so every picture was precious, and I didn't quite know what we were going to get until we developed it when we had the chance to develop it. And so I did have two pictures that I posted and at La Romita. And one of them is with Father Bernardino and me carrying my backpack. And on the side of that backpack, you see like a yellow rolled up sheet of paper. Well, that sheet of paper was the stick-on paper that we were going to use to make our signs, which we were going to carry on our backpacks, which on the one hand, I really wanted to do, and which on the other hand, totally terrified me. I had gotten the idea from Peace Pilgrim, who was one of my inspirations also for going on this pilgrimage, and from my other pilgrim friend from the Netherlands, Johanna, who had walked from the Netherlands to Jerusalem, as I had mentioned in my earlier episodes. And she had carried a very small little, like a little poster kind of thing on her backpack also, saying that she is walking to Jerusalem for peace. So both of them kind of gave me that inspiration to carry that sign, to announce our intentions. But at the same time, obviously, there was a little bit of that fear of what are people going to say? What are people going to think? Once you put these, once you put this sign on your backpack, you become basically a walking billboard. And that's a whole other level of walking for peace.
Yeah, there was some resistance, but this make me think too that obviously we had the idea of to carry the messages in our backpacks before we met Bernardino, and because even you had already the paper with you. Enrieti. Then this message that he gave us about that we were messengers, I think obviously it was destiny. I think it was in the plan of God, if you want to call it, or the universe. This plan that we were walking, we don't know exactly where was carrying it, but obviously it was carrying us inside, no, inner journey. Then this make more sense that this was destiny, and that we needed to receive that message to have a conversation with this amazing, beautiful priest that he became like an icon in our path, a reference point, exactly. And then the fact that he told us that we were messengers and we had this conversation between us, that we saw the resistance that still there was, no, to show publicly and to everybody that we were walking spiritually and with this mentality, with this vision, and obviously there was still a big resistance now for what the people is going to think about. Then the fact that Bernardino brought us this message related to the taos that we were carrying and what really they mean under the vision of God. No, that we were their messengers, but we talked about that the other day. We were more his delivery guys. No,
Delivery guys.
It's not that we write the message. It's not that we control the message. That we decide what is the message that we are going to give to the people. But we were channels for that message. Only because we had that intention, the intention to serve wherever needed to come. But still there was that resistance. But the fact that we talked with Bernardino about this, and was so clear that was a sign or was something providential or was some kind of destiny, convinced us that had arrived the moment to put the letters in our backpacks, that to put the message in our backpack. And you remember that we talked about maybe the best place to do it was in Assisi, that we were going to arrive in 3-4 days to Assisi, because Assisi was called the city of peace.
Correct.
And was the city of San Francisco, the Assisi, San Francis of Assisi. That was his town. No? Then we saw that it was so synchronistic, and that probably that was what we were going being guided. We were being guided to do it in that way.
For sure, I think you're right that that the fear that I had in that moment was being outweighed by the very clear message that Bernardino was giving us. Because when I bought that paper, I thought, I'm going to carry it just in case. And then I'll just maybe one day.
we were not clear about it. It was only just in case.
Just, I have it there just in case. And it was a good, we found it and it was really good stick-on paper. It's like, I'll have it. But I was not expecting to literally a couple of days later receive the very clear indication. I said, yeah, you're about to do this right away. And so, although it felt like a very clear, I don't want to call it directive, more like guidance, message, invitation, encouragement. The time has come to go do it. Now it's time to do it. Obviously, I would say I was more nervous than you were about carrying that message, because, you were feeling much more clear at that moment about what it means to be a messenger, being just a delivery guy, as you had said, and not the person who is writing the message, essentially being channels for the message. And that's where I wasn't as confident as you were with that interpretation. Well, but, Bernardino did give us that opportunity to be able to say, okay, it's time to move ahead now, and to move ahead clearly. Yeah.
But that at that time, and I had been always a shy guy. I was
hard to believe that you are a shy guy now.
Yeah, but I was reserved all my childhood and in my youth. It was only after what I call my conscience awakening, in my 28 years old. At the same time that you had yours in Canada, we talk about that. I was having mine in Spain, but until that moment, I had been shy. I was joyful with my friends, but I was shy to talk in public, and I was a little shy too, especially with bosses or with father figures or
authority figures.
Figures, exactly. Then all this started to change when I could understand there was a spiritual purpose for everything, and I could see myself and my life pointing towards that direction, and I was feeling guided. Especially when I started to feel what we call today the Holy Spirit, or the presence that was walking with us, the presence of love or God with us, and we started to communicate. I was communicating, I was having dreams, I was receiving signs. Then from that moment ahead, I became more courageous in that aspect, and because I knew that what I had with me, what I was experiencing, was important for other people. And I noticed that in my first pilgrimage, that I mentioned before in the other conversations, in the other podcasts that we have, that I could see how simply sharing my experience, it was touching to other people and giving them, hope or another way to see things, another way to walk, and especially the idea that they were not alone, and that there was a powerful, loving force, the creator of everything, that was working with us always and loved us. There was meaning, a significance in our life if we really wanted to choose this path. Then for that, from that moment, I was more, of course, I need to do it even when I don't like, even when I feel shame that somebody, or afraid that somebody can point with their finger towards me and to say that I'm crazy or I'm a fanatic or something like that. I knew the importance of what I was doing and the journey that I was walking, because I was having proofs about all this. It was not only a pretty idea that today we say about the Course in Miracles. It's not only a pretty idea. I could see the consequence of this, the effects of this idea. I could see the relationship that I had with God, and how He's talking to me, and how He's helping me, and how He's making life easier, and helping me to have beautiful encounters and to see the light and the love in everybody. Then from that moment, I started to be more, in that way we could say, more open and more ready to talk when was necessary. No, then you had resistance in your part, and I had mine. Because for me, it was not easy to go with these big billboards, like you say, because they were billboards. To do that, even when I knew that was important and we were being guided to do that, it was difficult. It was difficult, but was precisely the fact that to know that there was a mission, that was something very important for us and even for the world, that was making me to of course, I couldn't say no. And then, and I knew that was the moment. You know what happened with Bernardino, the message of with Bernardino, how this encounter with him happened, all the signs that pointing us towards it, and all the clear connections that there was with what we talk about with him. It was clear that was pointed to that was the moment. It's the moment, and it was coming too. It was not only Assisi, the city of peace, and the city of San Francis. It was too that we hear too that the 14, the day 14 of December was for the Catholics, was the day of peace, or they celebrated the day of peace. And in Assisi, they were going to do a special event, a Catholic special event in Assisi about peace. And it was coming, and we knew that if we were a little slow, we will arrive to Assisi in 3-4 days, and then we could to walk from there with the signs from there. That was very symbolic. This had meaning that we do in this way. For me, that was, and for you too, it was clear that was coming from God. It was not simple coincidences. It was like a plan. It was a script. No, the Course will say too that it's a script that is written script that is developing here.
Yeah, because the 14th now, I'm remembering, just to remind people, this is 2001. This is right after September 11. So we are still at a time where there is still a great deal of uncertainty, a great deal of fear about what's happening in the world. And the Pope John Paul II had called for a day of prayer for peace among all the religions. And he had invited the leaders of all the different faiths, the Muslims, the Jewish, Buddhists, all the different faiths to come together and to join him in a day of prayer for peace. That I'm remembering now that detail. That's why we wanted to be in Assisi for that day.
Yeah, because in Assisi that day they were going to be a special mass or a special thing too, because it was the city of peace, and then they considered that was a perfect place to celebrate this. That was going to be international, obviously, not only in Assisi, but it was going to be there one of the focus places where these meetings or reunions were going to happen.
So on the one hand, there was like, oh yeah, we get to join with other people who are also doing something for peace, praying for peace. So, and on the other hand, you go, oh my God, then they're going to see everything that you're doing. So it becomes that double-edged thing. But as we said, the guidance that we were receiving at that moment was to go ahead. The time has come, and we did. We continued that day after Bernardino, the 2 dogs in tow. The first place we stopped at, I remember, was Aqua Sparta, and we stopped there so that I could mail my tent. That was one of the first big decisions that we made in walking together. We saw that you had a big enough tent for the 2 of us, and if we needed to, we could camp out and we could use the one tent. And so we decided that, okay, I'll send back my tent and a few of the camping supplies that I carried with me and lighten my load a little bit, because my backpack then was a big backpack, and I would say it weighed about, with the tent and everything, 17, 18,
15, 17.
around that. I didn't weigh it, obviously, but you can see from the pictures, when you look at the pictures with me, it was big, wide, and it carried quite a bit.
For what I remember at the beginning of our walk, I think your backpack was 15 kilograms, maybe 17 maximum, and mine was 20. Is the memories that I had before we started to leave things in along the way. Like your camping, your tent, and the camping supplies, because we knew that we were not going to stop in the forest to make coffee or to make, and then we send these things away and they make your backpack much lighter. It's still heavy, but much lighter than before. Yeah.
And Bianco Spino stayed with us, and he continued walking with us until we arrived to our first place we stayed at was a town called Massa Martana, where we were received in a Franciscan monastery, and received, I would say, quite lovingly, quite openly. They gave us rooms, but not only that, they invited us to dinner. They really wanted to know what we were doing. And I let you take the lead, because obviously they really wanted to have a spiritual conversation. They were deeply interested in what we had to say, but obviously they were coming at it from the place of their faith and their religion, Catholic, right? And I didn't have that reference point. Not only did I not grow up in a religious family, my family is Greek Orthodox. So the stories that you were telling me of St. Francis of Assisi and all, this was all new to me. So I was learning about this from you and from the people who we were in contact with. Yeah. And that night there was a conversation that surprised me with how open and available, shall we say, to express your opinions about what you believed, about the message, not just of St. Francis, but especially about the life of Jesus. And this is something that we talk about in the book. Do you wanna reference a little bit what we were talking about that night? Let you tell the story.
Yeah, there is a couple of things interesting that happened that day. Especially with these people, the frailes, the brothers, the monks, they were very nice, very friendly, and many of them, they were very young. You remember? They were novices,
I guess.
I think. Some of them, and even the director or the main person there, he was young. I think he was older than in his 40s or something like that. Very, very friendly, and they received us with open arms. They didn't question anything, but they about our motivations. But they wanted to know what was our plans, what we were thinking, also too. Maybe some motivations too, why you were doing, the spiritual motivations, but in a very friendly, open way. And really, they wanted to know. They didn't want to hear what they wanted to hear. They wanted to know why really we were doing. You feel that
I felt very well. It was where I was at the time. Wanting to be open and share what I believed spiritually, and at the same time not wanting to offend. Because here I am surrounded by Catholic monks. I'm not going to start talking about, the conversations with God and all of these other spiritual, New Age books. So I was trying Peace Pilgrim. I was trying to find I guess it's a razor's edge between, I want them to see that, there is a spiritual motivation here. It isn't an intention that is inner, and at the same time not wanting to offend them or feel rejected myself for these spiritual beliefs, because we're knocking on their door and they're welcoming us in, and so I didn't want to disappoint them or myself be feel that I was rejected or offending, and just there were a lot of emotions going on at that time.
And I remember that we talked.
And also, I'm not Catholic.
Exactly. Especially about this point, I remember that we talked about that because, and we talked several times in our journey, especially at the beginning, because we didn't want to lie. Of course, but we didn't want to put people uncomfortable. Then I was sure that we were doing right. So we were spiritual people. We believe in God, like everybody.
And peace.
And in peace.
All religions have the same motivation for peace. Exactly. And so in that we could agree that, we had that intention for peace. It's just that they clearly have certain ideas around everything that I just did not want to feel that we were offending them or deceiving them.
Exactly, or deceiving them. And I think people, they understood because putting away one case that we will talk about that the next the next podcast, nobody asked us really if we were Catholics. No. But look at, we thought maybe they think that we are Catholic. They assume that we are Catholic.
They assume we're Catholic.
But I knew that many of them, probably with this group too, maybe they maybe suspected that maybe we were not maybe practitioners, or even maybe we were not strict Catholics. But they didn't ask, because I think many people really they didn't not that they didn't care, but it was not important for them, as they could see that we were brothers and sisters, and we had the same motivations. But we were ready, and we talk about that. If somebody asks to us, we say the truth. So still, because we talk about this many times, still I feel I am Catholic. I have been raised Catholic. I feel Christian. I see Jesus like an example in my life. The only thing is, like we will mention later, we see that all paths bring to the same place and to the same God. Then if somebody asks, we will say that. And we will say that because we don't want to lie. But really, people received us in the same way. No, they didn't put the barriers in at that level, except that case that happened that we will mention in the next. And that was a very interesting story. Then I received in this place where we were now with these monks. I feel really that we were very welcome, and they were very open-minded too. In their beliefs, obviously, but still open-minded. They really wanted to know us. And then for that reason, and maybe was a help too that we had a glass of wine. I don't know.
Wine. The wine was flowing.
Was flowing. Not excessive, but this.
They were generous.
And they were happy, and we were talking about all this. Maybe the conversation was more free. I felt more free to express ideas that I could feel it, that they will understand, and even they will agree with it. And the only thing I remember, the motivation started, especially what brought this out, was that they had a big cross of San Damian in the living room or in the entrance. And I was looking at that cross because it was a cross that I received like a gift years before in my first Camino. I think my first Camino and the second one, I think, was in my first Camino to Santiago. And was a cross in a wood cross, and that had a characteristic shape. I don't know if you have, if people know the cross of San Damiano, but you can look in Google. You can Google it, and you will see that it's a cross it's like a painting. It's not a typical cross of those sticks crossing each other. It's more like the painting. with the shape of a big, thicker cross.
Yeah.
And
it reminded me of some of the Greek Orthodox icons
exactly.
that I would see in the church.
Exactly, and in that painting, in that cross, or that cross that is thicker, that is a painting. And in that painting, like you say, in the style of the Orthodox or that icons, you can see a Jesus that is not suffering. Mm-hmm. It's a Jesus that had his open arms and is looking to the ones around him, and looking to the one that is looking to the cross. And beside him there are some apostles, I think. I don't remember now. I don't remember now, clear. But it's not a suffering Jesus. Is a loving Jesus with his open arms, not a stick in the cross with nails, but with his open arms, like that, giving a hug to the world. And I love it, that image, because I wanted to see Jesus in that way. It's how I saw Jesus at that time already. I saw Jesus like a loving figure, not like a victim or a suffering figure. And then this was the what we talk about. I started with the thing of I love the cross of San Damian, and they talked to us that was the cross. It was a cross that San Francis loved too. He signed with the Tau his name, and for many people the cross of San Francis was the Tau, but also the cross of San Damian was his cross too, because he had the inspiration from God to reveal the church of San Damian
to rebuild it.
To rebuild the church of San Damian where he were when he was living in the forest with his friends. No, that was at the beginning of his spiritual path. And he understood that was that was that church, the church of San Damian with that cross. But after he realized that the reveal that was being asking for from God was the reveal of the church itself, and he helped a lot to this, because it was necessary at that time
to reform the church.
To reform the church. And there's a nice story there that I love it. I love it, the story of San Francis at that time. Especially there is a movie that is Brother Sun, Sister Moon, or Sister Moon, Brother Sun. I don't remember how it is. It's a beautiful movie that I saw, and books that I read too about his life and written by him. He has 2-3 books, beautiful too. And then his story touched me so deeply at that time. And then was opportunity talking about the cross of San Damian. I simply expressed what I thought about Jesus, about his message was not a message of suffer or a martyr. That we had talked with the Course in Miracles. We had talked a lot about that. His message was not the crucifixion. His message was love. And in all cases, resurrection to the real self that we are, the Christ that we really are, the Son of God that we really are.
The love that we are, the light that we are. Yeah.
Exactly. And then we talk about that. And really, they were very accepting of this idea. And I didn't talk like attacking at all. I was only showing a point of view, another perspective, that I know that the many priests and many religious people, they hold it too. Because I know many Catholic people that they had the same idea. They believe in that the message of Jesus was not to die or to suffer or to be crucified. The message of Jesus was a message of love. Love your brother, open to see your brother how he really is. Love your enemies, open to see your enemies beyond the image of the enemies that you had about them. And then we talk about this gently, because I know that it was gently, but it's true that they were very open, and we had a very good time and revealing time. And maybe this was another lesson. When we say that we are messengers and we are sharing this vision, maybe I think Holy Spirit, how we call today, or God, how we call at that time, the inner teacher, the inner master, or angels, propitiate that encounter, help it to that we had that encounter, and not so much maybe to deliver a message to them, but maybe for receive us the message that we could be open about what we believe and to share this love that we believe it and we carry with us. Then, it was important to me to see myself in that environment, talking about these things that was really what was motivating me to walk to Jerusalem was that love. Like we mentioned later, we are not working for peace, we are working for love, but we are not going to advance. We will talk about this very, very briefly.
Yeah, but it's funny because, you have to imagine the setting for, from your point of view, it all makes beautiful sense because you're accustomed to the teachings, you're accustomed to kind of how they think, right, from a Catholic point of view.
No, I wanted to be a priest. We had mentioned that before. I wanted to be a priest when I was a child. I went even to a seminar to study to be a priest. Even when then I didn't do that. But even when I was a child, I was reading the Gospels and I was reading books. When I was in primary school, I had a book of, I don't remember, Tomás de Aquino, Santo Tomás de Aquino. I had a book with me that I carried with me. I was reading. I didn't understand what this priest say, but I was trying. I was really interested in this life then. Yeah. And I had seen all the movies of Jesus and all the spiritual. I knew the life of all the saints because I read it then to my mother when we were children and she was cooking and we were reading for entertain her, but she did it too for that we learn of this life, we take example of all this. Then all this spiritual life, especially in the line, in the tradition of the Catholic Church was there in my background, in my memory, and even I had very good memories about them. Even with the years, I could see that there was some contradictions, some ideas that didn't match anymore with the love of God, that I was discovering again, that I was seeing again how much deeper and profound it was that what I had learned until the moment. Yeah.
Well, for me, I'm not sure if you remember seeing the look of horror on my face.
Yeah, because it's very easy.
It's very easy to look back on it now. But back then, I didn't even think you had religious beliefs, right? Because I knew you had spiritual beliefs. We talked openly about all the spiritual texts, but to be in that context and to hear you speaking, about Jesus, and this is the first time that I hear you speaking about Jesus in that way and talking about him, his message of love, and he doesn't want us to be crucified. And then I kept thinking, what is he doing? And what are they going to say? And for me, it was just the shock of it all. Again, I did not have that in my environment. That was not the environment that I grew up with. That is not the environment that I lived, and also certainly not something that I talked about. And so for me to be in that setting and to hear you speaking in that way, my first thought was, they're kicking us out. We're out.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's very easy to see you are an open book.
That's true.
It's very easy to see what you feel, and I remember that you were a little, but there was another thing that we talked that night, and was not about the love of Jesus. It was to his mission, and I think we talk about this too, and I'm not sure. His mission, he was not somebody that tried to please others. He was somebody that was sharing a truth in what he believed. And he was reinterpreting the scriptures too of his time. He was Jewish. He was not Christian at that time. He was Christian in that he believed, he knew that he was the Christ, or he was the Son of God, the same that all we are. Yes. But he was reinterpreting the scriptures at that time of his own church, his own religion. And he was doing lovely, but he was bringing it. There is another way to see this, no?
Yeah. Like another interpretation,
like the Cosmic Miracles does today, or other traditions and other journeys. Yes. No? And that is good, that we open our mind to see beyond of what is known or beyond we have learned, to be open to see love, especially if we believe that God is love. Okay, if God is love, why these things happen? That is a great question. If God is love and is all powerful, why we see all evil in the world? And that is a great question, and what I find many times This we didn't talk at that time, but what we find many times is that we try to justify things for only to keeping not the idea of that God is love, but to keeping the ideas that we had about what is really happening, and that is another answers, but we need to be open to let go of the old answers that we have, for that we can receive new answers, and that is important. Then what he was doing Jesus was not only giving. He was not always only being loving with other people. He was bringing love to other people. He was bringing love in a new way of seeing and understand life. Yeah. And it's what he's still doing with us in the way that we see. And it's what we wanted to do too. Then I wanted to feel free to do it this way, no impose ideas in others, but when I saw interest, other situations were there, and now knowing too that we were messengers or delivery guys of a higher message, I wanted to be open to do that. I didn't want that fear or shame or low self-esteem stop me. I wanted to be free to do what I saw that was important, and what I saw I was starting to understand that was my path too. Then that was a great night that we had at that time, and really loving people and open, and was really beautiful. And how I say, I think this was more for us than for them, or more for me at least than for them. But how I see that affected you, it was for you too, obviously. Even when needed maybe a little more time to digest, the idea. No?
Yeah, it was. It clearly. I mean, I just want to say, with time, I would appreciate, of course, the great courage and the great inner work that it had taken you to come to the place to be able to speak so openly and so clearly and so lovingly about these truths that you are receiving. And so, but back then, because it was so foreign to me and it was so exposed, it made me feel vulnerable, and it was something that I was not comfortable with. But it did make me realize how afraid I was. Looking back on it, I would say I was terrified of sharing this truth openly, essentially for the fear of being crucified. That's exactly what it is. And the Course does talk about, this idea of, be aware that it's your fear that's speaking here. It's your fear that you're seeing when you are so worried about what other people are going to do to you, or what they're going to think about you, or what they're going to say. The moment that you open yourself up and you reveal the depth of your spiritual understanding, even though it appears to be contradictory, even though it appears to be not in alignment with, shall we say, the standard of what everyone believes at that moment. And so it was a big learning moment for me, and it would continue to be that for me. It's not as if it was something that I realized it and then it disappeared. It continued for the rest of our journey, and I would say it continues to this very day in some moments too, around that. So, but it was a very powerful night for me, because it opened my eyes to a side of you that I did not know was there. And how not only how much you knew, but how passionate you also were, and how clear you were about the loving message of what, Jesus, who Jesus was, and who he is, and what he was trying to do. So yeah, it was revealing. It was a big revealing night for me.
And it's true what you say, that within us we had spoke about spirituality, but more in a universal way.
Yeah.
And it's true, because already I at that time I was making art. Like an artisan, I was making art, but in a more universal way. I try not to make religious figures, because they could be misinterpreted like religious, exclusively religious in the past. Then I always was doing a more open spiritual view. I was bringing figures and images from the East, and from the Buddhist tradition, the Hindu traditions, the shamanic traditions. I was doing a lot of things of that, and I was maybe escaping a little the Christian path, or the because I didn't want that was seen like pointing towards that exclusively.
Exactly.
But obviously I had all my ideas, and I love the Christian message. I love the message of Jesus, but the real message of Jesus. When you see it from a higher perspective. And I love the Islam message too. When you see from a higher perspective, I love Sufism, and even in the Jewish, in the Kabbalah too, had a lot of great things to offer. You're more the mystic ways, and especially messages that don't put barriers or don't exclude or don't attack or don't blame anybody, but is open to include. No, like what's going to be done that 14th of December, this meeting for peace. It was including all the religions, and this was the same. Then obviously when came in this journey through Christian churches and monastery, it was opportunity to bring these ideas that I had from the past from this perspective that I had now from a more open view, a more universal view, and to see that at the end all paths bring to the same place. Yeah. That is, all paths bring to God. Doesn't mean it's not important the terminology or the form that you use. It's the message, it's the teachings of love, that we are sons of God, that He loves us, He loves everybody, that as He have the power of creation, we have it too, and then to try to learn and understand what we really are and what are our circumstances and the world where we seem to find ourselves. But it's always bringing you to the same place. Then it was a great opportunity, now that I see it, it was good to put to the test the view that I had at that moment, that was more free of Christianity or the dogma, to share in an environment where it was more dogmatic. And where I didn't want to, of course I didn't want to blame anybody or to attack anybody, but I didn't want to cause confusion in other people either. Then I was trying to bring it in the best way that I could, and I give to God, like we do today too, and I say, Holy Spirit, God, talk through me. Yes. And because what I want here is the benefit for all of us, the best for all of us.
It didn't quite have that kind of remarkable effect on me. It kind of it just awakened a lot of fear. And at that moment it awakened a lot of fear, and it would be something that would make me even more wary with you when it came time to being with other people. It would make me become more controlling, trying to get you to not talk so much about this spiritual stuff with people, because I was always afraid of what their reaction would be. So while on the one hand it awakened for you something positive, for me it took me in the other direction. Because it made me feel like no, this is not, we're not here to be preaching. Maybe that's what it is. It's like, I'm not here to be preaching about spirituality. That's my inner journey. My outer message is that this is my contribution to peace.
And it's funny that you mentioned this, and you know that we don't prepare so much these talks. Then we trust, and everything is going to flow in the hands of the Holy Spirit, if you want to call it, or in the hands of God. But we have not talked about this. But I told you before that I wanted to mention something about Bianco, about the dogs walking with us for the roads. And I see now that what I wanted to talk is related to this that we are talking now, and is that fear make us want to control. It was make us want to control, make us to believe that the consequence of the things that are going to happen depend on us alone. Like my individuality, my identity alone, Alberto or Moni, need to decide and to be wise and to trust and to try to do the best for that nothing bad happen, and the best happen, and we forget that we are not alone.
Right. So that you can feel safe.
Exactly.
Right? Control ultimately comes from fear, and the way that you try to overcome that is by control, which tries to give you the illusion that you are safe.
Exactly. You are safe, or not only about you, thinking that that doesn't cause damage to.
Doesn't hurt anybody else.
And then
Yeah.
I remember that this was another point. I mentioned this because this is
I know what you're going to say, I think.
we were
Yeah.
trying to do. We were trying to do this in this situation, especially you. I felt more confident with these monks, but you were trying to do that, and later you were trying to still to control what, with this fear that what is going to happen is he continue talking in this way. I'm going to lose my way. But in that days, we were having a similar situation of control, and was especially myself, because you were worried too, but you were more relaxed. It was me that I was worried, especially about the dogs.
The dogs, yeah.
And the first day we had 3 dogs, and afterward 2, and finally Bianco stayed with us all that 3-4 days until we arrived to Santa Maria de Angeli the day before to arrive to Assisi. And but Bianco was an amazing dog. He was a pilgrim dog. He had done this many times before, but we were walking for the roads, and he was walking behind us from this small sidewalk where there was sidewalk, because in some places there was no sidewalk, and he was walking behind us, and we could see that he was doing it, but he was very afraid, especially of the big trucks. We could see, because big trucks passed for your side, and even the wind moved you, and he was afraid. He was with the tail between his legs, and slowly, and sometimes he crossed. I remember, he didn't do that so much, but the other dog that came before with him, yes. Romita. I don't know who was the one that walked with us to a while in that first day. He was crossing the road, and there was corners, curves. There was curves. The car could come, and they didn't know, and they found the dog in the middle of the road, and some cars were honking, and I was afraid. I was afraid for the dog, for sure, but I was afraid too that could create an accident. And this could have consequence, somebody, but we didn't know what to do. They were not our dogs. We told them, come back. And they didn't want it. And Bianco was more controlled. He was not doing crazy things, but another was more crazy. And the point is that arrived at a moment I was feeling myself stressed, very stressed. And what is happening here? I'm losing the peace. And then I remember the same that I am telling you, what I am doing. This is in the hands of God. This had been providence. We had arrived to this monk. He's telling us that we are messengers, that we are not the messengers, we are the delivery guys. Right. That we see that there is a big hand here moving everything. We know that God is love, and not only love us, that we are walking this path, love everybody. And if these things come because it's in his plan, I'm going to trust in him. I'm not going to try to control. I'm not going to try to stop the dog or to try. No, I'm going simply to trust that you are driving. You are driving the bus. You are putting the path how must be, and that you are with me, and you are with the dogs, and you are with the people that is driving in the road, and nothing bad can happen when I leave all this in your hands. And this is an important point, because in the moment that I realized this, like what happened with my father, or this I needed to come back or no, was the same. I arrived at this, stop a moment. This is not in my hands. I'm following here a path. I'm listening to the Spirit, I'm listening to God, and He's telling me to do this in this way, and to trust in Him, that He knows what is coming, and to try to bring the love the best that I can. And this is what I need to do this too. And in the moment that I stopped to worry, I simply close my eyes and I say, let's go ahead and trust in the love of God. Then the first thing that I found was peace. It's like the Course in Miracles teaches. The first thing was peace. The stress went, the fear went, and then the situations were much more calm, and there was less problems, and the dog was more relaxed too, and we didn't have any problem at all. And I think that was another lesson that we needed to learn. And that was a small situation that helped us to realize better, and to put in practice that what we believed, and we were even preaching to another, to others, not trust that this doesn't depend on you. That is something that is moving here, the wheels, or I think connect with what you were talking to. This necessity, that fear, or to the consequence of anything, make us to try to control things. And what we do is we put more problems there in the first place, because we believe that we are alone. Then we cannot feel. If I believe that I am the one that need to control and to decide, I am forgetting that I am not alone, and that love works with me, the one that knows. The one that knows, and the one that had all the power and is over all things is love. Then what can happen? What can be afraid? Be afraid of anything? Is love is walking with us? No.
I did feel the same way as you did in terms of, I believe, with the dogs, and also that, love is walking with us, so everything is going to be okay.
We talk about that.
It's all we talked about. It's just, when it came time to actually speak about it, I had my reservations.
Yeah.
That was really the biggest difference. And plus, the control showed up in a little small ways. Like, for example, I carried the map. We looked at the map together, we decided together, but I carried the map. I walked in front, but that made sense because, I was shorter than you.
Yeah.
I could see the road ahead.
Yeah.
Although I kept hearing very quickly from behind me, remember? Moni, be careful.
Moni, be careful.
Always from behind. It's like, I
This
have eyes. I have eyes.
Can attract and you don't see it. Be careful. Put yourself in the sidewalk.
Get off the road, get closer to the edge of the road.
Exactly.
It's like, that was funny. And so there was a little bit of control from your side too, the fear showing up in that way. And at the same time, I was the one, for example, I'm the one who led the speaking when it came time to knock on the door. I'm the one who knocked on the door. I'm the one that spoke because, my Italian was worse than yours. Your Italian would be better because it's closer to Spanish, but I trusted my ability to communicate, even though I didn't speak the language as well. I trusted my ability to kind of be the face that says, hello, this is who we are. The marketing to sell the way. This is what we're doing. And we got very good at saying it in Italian and very quickly.
And there was another thing too that I agree with that, because I could see in my belief system at that time, I could see or convince me that would be easier that somebody open the door is a woman, that is asking instead of a man with a beard and a stick in the hand.
Yeah, it's true.
It makes sense. Okay, let's do it. And for another part, I trusted too. This is the way. Let's do it in this way, and it was the way.
And that's how we did it. That's how we did it. And after Massa Martana, we arrived we were guided to go to a convent in a town called Canara, I think it was. No, it was Bevania. We stayed in a convent, and then the next day we went on to Canara. Again, we weren't walking quickly. We were trying to pace ourselves so that we would arrive in Assisi by the 14th.
And in Canara, something curious with Bianco too, because Bianco was a pilgrim dog, and pilgrim dogs, there are a lot of stories about them, and they are amazing because they are so smart and they are really helpful. And they really give always to the pilgrims that work with them. They learn a lot about them, about is really the dogs or other animals have soul. This make you wonder, make you wonder. We don't wonder anymore. Exactly. Then when we arrived, every place that we arrived, Bianco usually stay outside. You remember?
Yeah.
And when we went out in the next morning, he was there waiting.
He was always there. Except for some reason, I have here in my diaries that in Bevania, in the convent, somehow he ended up in our room and he slept at the foot of my bed. Yeah, and it wasn't a big bed. And so I was like curled up because he was at the bottom of my bed and because he didn't like the cold floor.
Yeah. And I remember that I wrote in my diary, he's beautiful, he's very kind, and he stink. Because he was walking all day like that. I'm sure that we stink too before the shower, but he
and the dog noises, because on my diary was like he was making dog noises all night, so I didn't sleep. So that one night in the convent when he stayed with us,
because they in that convent they gave us a room that was in the street, was outside the convent.
Yes,
they gave us a key. Then was a room and in the street, and he came inside with
That's
us.
right. That's
It
exactly.
was a simple room, was not a. Then for that reason he came in, and he went immediately to the bed, over the bed with us to sleep. And
It was funny.
Bianco, it was amazing.
And then Canaro, it was a priest, a very nice priest who was just amazed and shocked. He was just shocked at what what we were doing, and just couldn't be. He didn't know what to do to be helpful. Didn't know what to do to make
Yeah.
us comfortable. He opened up the hall that he had.
Another room. Obviously, it was not a monastery. It was his parish.
His parish,
His
exactly.
parish. Then there was not a room with hot shower or anything to sleep. Yeah, and then he was apologetic. Digo, but are you sure that you are going to be comfortable here? Don't worry, it's not the first time that we do it. Well, it was fun.
Yeah, but he did have tables where we could lay out our sleeping bags on top of the tables.
Yeah.
He had heaters in that room. Looked like a little auditorium or a little hall where they would do little plays and stuff like that. And he turned on all the heaters that he had, and he kept coming in to check in on us. And that is a place where I actually have a picture of you cutting out the letters. That was the place where, because at Massa Martana, the monks had told us how to say "walking to Jerusalem for peace" in Italian,
Exactly.
and how to spell it out.
Exactly.
And so we had agreed that my backpack would say "walking to Jerusalem for peace," and yours would say just "walking for peace." Camminando verso Gerusalemme per la pace. And yours, e camminando per la pace. And so Alberto, being the artist that he is, drew, traced out on that yellow paper, traced out all of the letters and started to cut them out. And so that was that night in the hall of the parish hall of that town in Canara, where we cut them out. And I will post that picture on Facebook as well.
Yeah, and Bianco Spino is in my foot,
And Bianco
my feet.
Spino, yeah, and Bianco Spino is a picture of Bianco Spino actually at our feet.
But we didn't put the letters that night. We
No.
only cut it, and
That's
we
right.
were leaving for the day that we arrived to Assisi.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Assisi didn't come until 2 days later because we ended up under the direction of Bernardino. He had said to us, go to Santa Maria degli Angeli, because there is a monastery and the people there know him, and just say to them that he sent you, that, Bernardino has sent us and they will take care of you. And what we didn't expect was the actual, like the beautiful modern
It wasn't like the
hotel.
hotel. It was-
Yeah, I think it was a reformed monastery. It was an old monastery, an old convent, but marble everywhere, gorgeous, and
with all
everything is new.
the
And
modern amenities.
yes,
Yes.
all the modern amenities were there. But as soon as we told them who we were, who sent us, very accommodating, very helpful, gave us like beautiful accommodations, simple, but
Like
beautiful.
building place.
But each one had their own private room with a kitchen in between us that we could share. I remember that. So it was a little more more luxury than maybe we had been accustomed to, but it was lovely.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a great experience. The people was very nice too, but how they were full, and they were attending many pilgrims that came, not like us walking, but in their cars or in buses. The place was full, you remember, from many foreign people.
That's right.
Not only Italian, especially we listen a lot of English. There, Assisi is a very known place, and Santa Maria de Angeli also is a place of many pilgrims go there. Then we didn't have the intimacy that we had with Bernardino. Obviously, they were very nice, very smiley, but they leave us alone. They give us the room, and that was all. We didn't have a spiritual conversation that like we had with Bernardino or with the other monks in Santa Maria del Monte. Santa Maria del Monte.
Yeah, and that night Bianco Spino stayed outside.
Stayed outside.
We don't know where he went, but he found us again the next morning, basically, because he did find us. No, did he find us? No, that was because that was the last day. But it was that night in Santa Maria de Angeli that we did put the letters. We stuck the letters on basically they're the rain covers. Those are the covers that go over your backpack when it's raining, just to protect it. So on those covers, Alberto pasted with great attention and great detail all the letters that he had cut out, and he put them on the slickers, the rain slickers, and then we put them on our backpacks. And when we put them on the backpacks, it was like, wow, these are big letters. They took up the entire back space, and they were yellow, obviously. So they called shiny yellow. So it called over gray, over the gray slickers. Yeah, yours was blue, I think, and mine was gray. So they quite stood out. And when I looked at them, it's like, wow, we are definitely walking billboards for peace now. And the following morning was when we decided to walk out with them and to walk into Assisi with those signs on. And as I say, it was both at the same time. I was like, okay, we're doing this. And I was just so nervous doing it.
Do you remember when we went out of the room? I remember
The elevator?
that we went out of the room with the backpacks, the first time coming out with the sign, and we crossed and we get the elevator, and there was people already in the elevator, and we went in and we were with the backpacks, and we needed to put the back looking to the people that was in the big elevators, that were behind us, and what they will be thinking. And after we came out to the lobby, and we could see the people were reading and were smiling. They go, okay, yeah, we were shy. It was nice. It was nice.
Yeah, we were definitely, a little bit hesitant, but, the signs were on and there was nothing to do but just walk and trust that this is how we are being guided at this moment to walk. And it's a short distance. It's not a very long distance from Santa Maria de Angeli to Assisi. Because I think it was part of that whole event that was happening at that time. And it was a bit of a hill. It wasn't a flat road. There was a bit of a hill leading up to Assisi, and there was a lot of traffic that morning. And it was a lot of traffic. It was moving very slow, and we just started walking the main road that led to Assisi.
Yep. And there was, I remember well, there was some kind. We were like for a sidewalk that was a little out of the road. We were not walking for the sidewalk. I think we were
like a parallel road.
A parallel road or a parallel path. But where the cars could see us.
Clearly.
Because they were just there. Even they were a little higher. Then they could see us very well. And then was when we started to see the reactions of people. They were smiling, they were looking, some bodies were waving with the hands, and then when we had walked maybe half an hour, we could see clear that this was a good idea. You remember?
Yeah.
We said that.
We could relax a little bit because the reaction was overall positive. Some cars were actually honking their horns, and not for us to get off the road.
No, because we were
because we're not on the road, but they were honking, in support, and it really was an encouraging reaction for me. It's not to say that it was easy just to put on that sign, but it got easier as we would walk. But that first day was a big test, and it went well. And we were guided also in Assisi to go to a specific monastery. I think it was a convent. This was a convent that we were guided to go to, and they told us that we would be received there. And Assisi, we arrived later in the day. Again, it was a cold day. It was cold, a strong wind. We arrived, we went straight to the convent. They welcomed us, and they gave us separate rooms. Very kind people, but and then we walked around. I believe we walked around Assisi that evening, but for some reason, everything, all the stores were closed.
Yeah, because
it was
at 5 o'clock was night too.
Yes.
Then I remember that we were walking for the streets. It was already dark, but the stores were closed too because that day was holiday for some. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it was a Sunday
event, yeah.
or the event, and there was nobody in the streets. Everything was closed, and then we walked. For the stone cobblestones streets and all that, but very soon we found that there was nothing to really to do, or we didn't receive any sign or any direction from the our guides, and then we decided to come back to the place, and I thought maybe what needed to happen had happened already.
Yeah.
Not every day is going to be, and we didn't have main or important spiritual conversation that night, or any encounter that we remember. It was.
No, that night, no, but the following morning.
following morning,
Yes, because the
Unexpected.
following morning there was, we were invited to eat. They had like a big kind of dining area and they had some food out. And so they invited us to have something to eat and we had to, like an open, yeah, like a, yes, exactly. And so we were grateful for that, and we had something while we were having something to eat. We saw that there was only one lady yeah, the one lady in this very big kind of dining hall area, and so it seemed rude not to kind of talk to her. So I think we went and sat near her. Yeah.
Especially one lady that spoke English.
Well, that's what we would find out, is that she would speak English. We said hello and always, buongiorno, and she said buongiorno, but then it became obvious that she also had an accent like us and that she was an American. She was an American and, she invited us to sit with her and we sat and we had, the usual, what are you doing here? Where are you from? And then we started speaking about our pilgrimage and our walk to Jerusalem. And then she started to tell, and what came out, because I felt comfortable expressing myself in my own language, I told her she wanted to know our background. And so I told her, how I had left, my a business career and left everything and was going on this inner quest, really. And she could relate because she had done something similar. She was some kind of an executive or marketing or something. And she too had left that and was studying theology. She was doing something that for her had meaning. And
I remember that she said too that she was precisely there in Assisi because she needed to make a decision about her future, how she was going to orient these studies that she had done, this theology thing, in which path, what she was going to get a career, or she was going to do. And then it was there concretely, specifically to meditate about this.
Her next steps.
Her next steps. Then I found that was very, very coincidental too. Even when we don't mention, but she say by herself, I don't think this is happening by coincidence. This encounter with us is helping me really. You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. And I don't remember all the details, the full details of what we spoke about, but what you say is true. She just was saying how the conversation that we had, the process that we had gone through individually, myself and you, to get to where we are right now, and the decisions that we had to make, and the inner kind of healing, the facing the inner demons and the inner fears that we had to do, all of that was serving her to help make her decision. Yeah. And so in a way, that kind of made me feel good, and that kind of reinforced your beliefs. You say, see, Mori, we are messengers. And it's like, well, that's not quite what I had in mind, is what I'm saying here. It's not quite what I had in mind.
No, but it's true. So it's not that you need to plan what you are going to say. It's you flow with the situation. In this situation, we are here, we are people, and we are being ourselves, and we are sharing of experience. We are sharing too that we trust in a loving force that is working with us and had a plan for us, and we are sharing all that. And he knows what is going to happen. He knows what is the situation for the other and for you, and how this is going to work in the best way. Then, and we only need to flow with it. And in some way, remember that we talk about her too. I think we talk about her about this with the example of the Franciscan monasteries, because I didn't know how I was going to sleep in the, and we mentioned to her that we have found providentially that Franciscan monasteries and churches and convents, they helped to pilgrims. And for that reason, she gave us a booklet. You remember that she had with her a booklet, coincidentally, with all the Franciscans monasteries and convents in Italy.
That's right.
And that was another gift. And she gave it to us.
She gave it to us.
She gave it to us. She came back with it. She went to her room, I think, and she came back to it. And she gave it to us.
And she also gave us all the food that she had. She goes, I'm leaving today and I don't want to carry all this food with me. Yeah. And so she gave us, whatever it was, the bread and the cheeses and whatever it was that she carried, that she was carrying with her.
And she gave us something else that again wake up in us some kind of a disagreement, because I saw it when she gave us the book, because I opened it a little to look, and I could see that was a bill in the in the first pages. It was a bill of 50,000 lira or 40,000 lira. That is like the, I don't know, like 20 euros, something, 25 euros, something like that. And I saw it, but I noticed in her face like she was a little like she didn't want that we noticed.
Yeah.
She wanted that we noticed later, and then I didn't say nothing. But obviously, when we were talking after, I was telling you, you see, we are messengers in the way that we are delivery guys, in the way that God had used us for something here important. And again, now I see more than ever that was using too for us, for our own learning process. And then you look at the book, and you open and you saw the bill, and you say, "Hey, what?" You remember? Well, maybe you want to tell this story.
Yeah. This was the shock of receiving that money.
Especially when you knew later that I knew it, that I had seen it, and I didn't tell you anything.
Yeah, it was. I was having a hard time on many levels.
You would have killed me. If you wouldn't have been a pacifist, you would have killed me.
If we weren't walking for peace, you'd be dead. Yeah. Yeah. No, this would awaken another one of those.
Yeah.
It would recur, but this was one that that came up, which I had not expected that people would be giving us money to support this walk, and I didn't know what to do with that. And I think it just added to that level of I am taking things that I don't need. I'm receiving shelter when I don't need to receive shelter. I'm receiving charity when I don't need it. And this was all like kind of the conversation that was happening in my own head. The same thing that happened when those two vagabonds that we met in the train station in Terni, being seen as somebody, who needs, when I'm thinking, but I am doing this by choice. I don't need this. And it was a deep conflict in me that was taking place. And I wasn't stopping to think, it's like, well, maybe Alberto can use this.
Especially because for me, I was seeing another way that God was providing me. He told me before I went to the journey, when I was in Bonn, he told me, don't worry about how you are going to do it. I will take care. And then this for me was another way. We were not asking,
No.
That when we went to every place that we went to asking, we were asking only for a roof.
We were asking for a roof over our heads.
We didn't ask for food. We didn't ask for money. We told them, so we don't need money. We don't need food. We only need a roof for the night, for the cold. But many people give us much more than that. But many people give us only that, and that is what we were asking, because we had money for food. And we had money for the essentials. Well, at least I had for that, no? And I didn't know that I would have for all the journey, but I knew that I would have what I needed, because that was the message that I received when I asked this question, before to start the journey. And so I am sending you, and I will give you whatever you needed. And this, for me, this was another way. I saw very clearly, this is another way. It's another way. Yeah? And people is giving for love. They are not giving for charity or for. They are giving for love, and I take it like this. God, what is giving me directly this for to do what I need to do. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that was your interpretation, but for me, it was hard to accept that. And at the same time, I also recognize another kind of pattern in me, in general, in my life. I was not somebody who was accustomed, shall we say, to receive help. I was the one who always gave help. I was the friend who was always there to give advice. I was the friend, if you needed something, I gave it to you. I was the one who was giving, and not really thinking that I needed to receive, because I always felt like I could take care of myself. So this idea of receiving help, even spiritually receiving, was hard. I hadn't realized that it was something that I struggled with, because I was always it was a way to keep, how do I explain it? To kind of keep yourself safe, because that way you're not dependent on anybody. You're not beholden to anybody. You don't owe anybody anything, and it keeps you safe. It's another form of control. It's another form of saying, well, I don't need anybody. I can take care of myself. I'll figure things out. So I would rather give to you and make you feel, that you're accommodated, you're helped, but not, I don't need anything, because I'm okay. I always have enough. I always have what I need. And so the money issue would become another issue that would come up between us. First, it was, shelter, where are we going to sleep? And here I was, accommodating to this new way of walking, which I hadn't expected. And now having to receive things that I don't need to receive things, and having to deal with that. And then having people think that we're Catholics. It's like, but I'm not Catholic. And so all of these things were coming at me, which I understand now were the opportunities that I was being given to see where my own thoughts were at, where my judgments were, the deep judgments that I had, and how closed I was, how controlling I was, how unwilling I was to truly release and surrender completely. And I had to heal a lot of inner things around those issues, because those were the ways that's what kept me safe. My controlling all of these different aspects were my way of feeling safe, that everything was okay, even while at the same time I was surrendering to God and to the angels, and allowing myself to be guided. These experiences would reveal to me just how much fear I still had, and why I wanted to control, so that I wouldn't feel like I was losing too much control. I already felt I was losing control of this walk when you came. And a lot of accommodations were being made. And so everything was collapsing around me. And I was starting to, what do I hold on to now when everything is starting to collapse?
And there was another point important that was coming out, that you were starting to feel, like you had mentioned, and the sample was this conversation that we had in the monastery, is what we are going to say to the people about what we are doing. And that still didn't show very, very clear, but it will start to show more and more in the future. And we will talk about that too when I write the moment. But that was the thing.
It's hard to believe that, we have been talking now for over an hour and 15 minutes. So I think this might be a good place to stop. And continue from Assisi in the following days, because some beautiful things happened also as we continued from Assisi the next day. Or the same day, actually, later that same day.
Always beautiful things.
Always beautiful things.
When we see them properly.
Yeah. So another good conversation.
A good conversation.
Things that we never quite expect, that we don't quite plan. We both, of course, read our diaries, we read our book, just to kind of say, okay, what happened in this journey? What happened in these days? Just to kind of get an overview. But then we don't quite exactly know where the conversation is going to lead us, and how it's going to unfold.
Because we leave the conversation in the hands of the one that knows.
Exactly.
It's like we did with the journey.
Exactly.
We do the same now. Then it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to see his hands. He's here now.
Always.
with us, and he's there with you guys too. And open to his presence, and you will feel it. And it's the most beautiful love that exists. It's amazing. Thank you.
Indeed it is. Thank you, pilgrims, for joining us today, for contemplating the things that we have shared with you today. May these words, may this sharing also inspire you and serve you on your journeys, on your pilgrimages, wherever they may lead you, be they on a sacred path or the sacred life that we are all walking together, all walking to the same destination, all walking home. Thank you, pilgrims. Buen camino.
Buen camino.